Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Buy Round Interview Show. Today we are welcoming three-time Premiership winner and a person about to depart these shores. A person who I very much appreciate coming on, considering the big move ahead. None other than, is it safe to say, former NRL star Luke Keary?
Former now. I won't be back. I definitely won't be back.
That's it.
That's it.
It's done. You are
Look,
you're like me. I'm not former. I'm a former NRL player. You're a former NRL star.
I'm still playing.
But not in the
NRL. No, done.
I like to say, Matt, appreciate you coming on because you've got this big move coming up to France. Look, how's the preparation for the actual move going? Because I know what this is like to move over the other side of the world, and it's first world problems. Yeah. But how are you experiencing it?
Well, I packed my bag the other day in 20 minutes, but my wife's been saying she's been packing for the last 2 months. So, yeah, I don't know. We're getting there. Well, she's slowly getting there. 3 kids aren't helping the situation too much, but we're so excited. We're so excited for the move. We've got 3 young ones, 1, 3 and 5. So get them straight into school over there. And I'm actually really looking forward to getting stuck into the footy too.
Have you looked around the house and gone, we've got way too much stuff?
Not me, her.
That we don't need.
Yes.
So
toys.
You're packing up and you're just renting the house out, I'm assuming?
Yeah, we're renting the house. Yeah. Rent the house out here.
You've got to clear the decks as well.
Clear everything. Yeah. We've literally, you don't realise how much stuff you got till you start packing it up.
I'll make a confession. Like when I left England for the first time to come over here, I went on holiday for a week, got back. Me and my missus packed a couple of cases and I left it to mum. It was a real shithouse move, real shitbag move to say, Mum, I'm running out of time here. I'm going to have to get you and Dad to clean and sort the house out for rent.
Yeah, well, we're off Sunday and we got our friends moving in on Monday, so
yeah,
we're at a time constraint.
Yeah, with that, and you know what, you're coming on here, so again, I said, we do. Maybe that's an excuse to get away from packing boxes because it's a pain in the arse. I've done it to come here, did it to leave to go back to England, and then come back here again. So I appreciate just how taxing that can be. Heading to France.
Yep.
What are your expectations going over to play for the Catalans Dragons?
Yeah, I've got a really open mind. I was planning on not playing at all, and then kind of got into the process of what life was gonna be like after, and then we're on a bus home from Canberra. I think it was around 14 or 15, and Robbo pulled me out the front and said, "Mate, I spoke to Steve Mack. Would it something that interests you?" And at the time, I'd never thought about playing over there, to be honest. We'd had a few World Club challenges, which I really enjoyed, but I always thought, I'd be at the Roosters, finish at the Roosters, and then transition, and then as soon as he put it in my head, I thought about it for a couple of days, didn't tell my wife or anything, and then spoke about it with her. And then it slowly, I started to feel really excited about it. I knew I still had footy in me, and I knew when I retired from the NRL, I still had footy in me. It was a couple of different other things that wanted me to finish. But yeah, I've got a really open mind about going over there. I'm really excited to go into a new club and a new system. And then obviously the cultural thing is a massive part of why we're going over there. Take the family over, get a great experience for the family, do a little bit of travel. But I'm really looking forward to getting into the Catalan and meeting all the boys.
I like that attitude as well. It's not going to be forever. You're going there for 2 years to have a life experience. You've been paid to live in another country. It's a fantastic opportunity for you and your family to meet new people, like you said, experience a different way of life because, you could have gone to a club in England and, English, Australia culture, very similar. There are a few nuanced differences, but somewhere like the south of France, the language, the attitudes of the people, it is very different.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a challenge. I spoke to Kingy about it. He was at Warrington and he said what you just said about the English culture and the Australian culture is very similar. And he was like, mate, if you get a chance to go to France, it'd be something really good for you and your family. So me and my wife are really looking forward to the challenge of learning the language. The kids are going to go straight to the local French school, living in a different community.
Drive on the wrong side of the road.
Yeah, it's all it's going to be so fresh and new. My wife's family, they live in Malta too, so she gets to go back there and see family. But the one question I knew I had to be okay with myself was with the footy, and I want to go over there and perform. I want to go over there and perform my best. I want to give that club a very high level of me, not just go over there and go through the motion. So I'm actually really excited to get in. And even that team, I think over half the team's French. So I'm excited about getting in with those boys and maybe teaching them a few things. And there's a few Aussies and a good contingent of English boys there now. So we've got a nice squad.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good friends of mine, Elliot Whitehead, Tommy Makinson. So, watch out for those two.
I will. I've had a few late night texts from Elliot already, actually.
That does not surprise me. I want to ask you about that wrestle. So, you make the announcement that you're retiring from the NRL. And I think most players that have been in the game for as long as you, they have this sort of internal conversation, this internal dialogue, and wondering about whether it's time to stop playing for whatever reason that may be. You make an announcement, it almost feels like a huge weight off your shoulders. Yeah. Everybody knows, and then we all, I think for me, like I had this wrestle, and it would be like, oh, have I made the right decision? Oh, I could play. I reckon I could. I'm a drag, and all these different things, these ideas, these conversations, and you're weighing up you're almost doing these pros and cons lists in your head, and you're having a bit of doubt. You have a good day at training, and you're like, no, I can do. You have a bad day at training. It's like, oh no, I made the right decision. But you have retired, and then gone against that decision, that you've had that wrestle with yourself and signed again. Yep. Can you talk us through that internal dialogue? I know the chat with Robbo, but what was it that brought you back to I'm going to play? Yeah,
so I re-signed. I had the chat with Robbo after 23 season. And he said, do you want to go again? And I felt really good after that season. Yep, all good. Got through that preseason, and I knew through that preseason. And it wasn't that I didn't think I could play again. There's a few things for me. I wanted to finish at the Roosters. Felt like I really enjoyed my time there. I'm part of the community, set my family up there, won a few comps there. Like it felt like it is home to me, and I didn't want to play for anyone else. So there wasn't an option of, I don't want to play for the Roosters, but I'll go to another NRL club play. So that wasn't an option. And at the time, at the start of that season, before we'd played a game, I knew inside myself that I didn't think I could do it again the year after. And I felt like it was affecting me day to day because I really wanted to concentrate on this season, and I was thinking about 2025 and knowing that I had to come back again, do another preseason, get myself back up to a level.
Because you were contracted.
I was contracted. I remember actually calling my manager. I think I signed just before Vegas, and I knew inside myself, man, I can't sign this. He goes, I'll just sign it and we'll deal with it. But I knew that I just couldn't. I knew I wasn't going to be able to get myself to that level at the Roosters again. And I was really content with finishing, although I knew deep down that I could have kept playing. Like I physically feel really good. Mentally, I feel pretty good too. So, but I just didn't have the option of another club, and I didn't want to. And then I'd put it to bed. And then when Robbo came and spoke to me, it felt like obviously it's not the NRL. And I felt like I'd almost had that blessing straight away, that I didn't go looking for this. It was kind of Robbo had come to me, and it was just it felt right. I don't know. It just it felt right. And I was embarrassed a bit about, I'd said I was finishing, and then 3 or 4 months later come out and said I'm not. So I copped a bit from Rats. Still do.
Because I think it would be a big weight off your shoulders, wouldn't it, to say I'm done? And then...
it still felt like I was done, right? So even when I decided, yes, I'm going to play for Catalan next year, it didn't affect me at all that season. Like I knew it was my last year here. I wasn't coming back to the Roosters. I wasn't coming back to the NRL. It was almost like a big full stop. And I've just got to have this big reset now, and I feel really, really good about going over to France.
2 years in Catalans. What's the sort of the future looking like at post football? Because again, I imagine that you make that announcement at that you're going to retire from the NRL, and automatically you would be thinking, well, what will I do next year? Like, how far down the track were you in sorting out your future? And then are those plans now postponed, or it'll be a different track?
Yeah, I'd been having those conversations. I feel like I've done a decent job of trying to prepare myself. I've been at uni and done a lot of work experience and things like that, business-wise. So I've got a few little things there, some relationships that have, really strong, and hopefully when I get back, that'll still be on the table. And then there's always the footy thing for me. Like I've said it a few times to different people, like I want to get away from footy, but I love footy so much. Like I think if I had time away, I'd know I just want to come straight back. And I don't know what that looks like in terms of, I've always had a little bit of a desire to coach. I've loved doing a little bit of media stuff. I've done with Fox, I've done a little bit of Triple M. Like I've really loved being involved in the game in that capacity, the coaching side of it. And then, there's a bit of a desire for maybe the administration side too. I've done the business degree and things like that, and I love that side of things. But I really love footy, and I want to be involved, whether it's at a club capacity, the game capacity, or media side of it. Like hopefully when I get back, I can kind of dig in for a while and do something there.
Did you say you have some business stuff going on at the moment?
Yeah. So I did a business. My dad made me do a business degree through footy, and then
made you.
Yeah, made me do it. But I ended up really enjoying it, and then I'm nearly finished my MBA at UNSW, which has been really enjoyable. And I've sprinkled in a few little work experience things like that. So it's been fun, and it's helped me a lot off the field. It's been busy with the kids, but it's given me a bit of grounding and perspective on things off the field. And
you'll look to try and finish that online while you're overseas?
Yeah, I've got a few left, so hopefully I think they've been pretty good with me. So knock a couple over there and then come back with that done. Yeah,
that'll stand you in a really good position to go. Well, you've obviously got the football skills, but to have that administration level of knowledge as well and understanding, it would be, obviously that experience that what the day-to-day operations from lived experience are.
Yeah.
But to also back it up with the academic qualifications would be...
Yeah, and I feel like our game, I'm going to say since COVID, right, I've watched our game it has grown enormously. Like the money, I think Peter Valandi's done a good job at that too. The TV deals, everything's bigger now. Like it's getting bigger. Sport around the world's getting bigger. I think the NRL's going from strength to strength. So it's becoming a lot more business-like, our game, and there's a lot more astute businessmen involved in our game, especially at the Roosters. Been really lucky to be surrounded by a lot of really successful businessmen too. So I feel like it's been a really good place to kind of cut my teeth, and then I want to get into some capacity. But like I said, I love the game so much. Like I don't really want to leave, and I do have there's a little part of me that thinks I maybe could coach. I don't know if I'm mad enough, but we'll see.
It's an interesting one that, like, it's funny. Like, I think I see some former players and they just sort of fall into it, or they'll get a taste and they get that bug and they just park everything else and just go after it. So
I've seen those. I think I was chatting to Cooper the other day, and Coops doesn't really want to coach, I don't think, but we both said, like, you want to be a good coach, you better be willing to give up everything around you to, it overtakes your life, and all the good ones are the same. They're very dedicated, but they are all in.
That's it.
There's no room for half.
They're all in, and their families are all in as well.
And they're all mad.
And they're all mad. And they just love getting up at the crack of dawn and being first in, last out. And, whether or not that's the best.
I do have that. I feel like we all do as professional athletes. We all have that hunger and drive and passion. And I have that. And it's kind of like, hey, where do you want to put that now, in your next phase? And I'm really clear about all of that I just spoke about going to France with me. And then when I get back, directing all that hunger, passion, there's all that things that I had, as a young footy player into what do you want to do next? Yeah.
With the coaching aspect of it, I think you lose control of so many variables.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and in any walk of life, there's some controllables. There's some inside your control, some outside of your control. As a player, you could directly impact the result. And obviously as a coach, you can too with the words that you say, the tactics that the recruitment, the retention, all those things. But then it's
on those.
I couldn't. For me, one of the hardest things I reckon would be sitting in the box, just saying, right, it's on them.
Yeah. It'll be. I just watch them and like how angry they get and like emotional, and I think I'm not going to do that if I do that. And I just, I don't know. Maybe one day
it'll be. I reckon whichever route you go down, mate, judging off your level of dedication, your level of success that I've witnessed you achieve so far, it's clear to see you'll be a successful retiree from football, but with 2 years in Paris, not Paris, in France. You've got plenty to look forward to. The Roosters, bit of an end of an era.
Yep.
Yourself, Jared, Joey Manu, to name but a couple of really experienced top line quality players there. How were the emotions during that, after that final game in Melbourne?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because we didn't speak about it too much during the year about Elvis leaving. Like, obviously got brought up a bit, but it wasn't really a big motivation for us. I mean, like for myself, say, like watching someone like Jared, it was a motivation for us, but we didn't use it too much as a group. But it was there in the back of our head, and then to fall short, and to be honest, the way we fell short to was really disappointing. But it was one of the most enjoyable seasons I had. Like, like you said, it was a massive weight off the shoulder, and there's 5 or 6 of us all going who probably had all that weight off. We had a really tough year the year before with a lot of scrutiny, and we didn't perform too well. We got it together at the back end, but it was a heavy year. Last year felt like a light year. Like, we got to play, and we played this really open, free, attacking footy. Sammy Walker came into his own. Brandon was playing really good. Teddy had one of his best years. We had a lot of different guys in really good form. Like, it was so fun. We couldn't get our defence right. It ended up costing us in the end. We weren't able to get our defence to a level to compete with those two teams. But in terms of footy and the boys and the year, the culture and everything like that, it was up there with one of the better years I've had. And then to fall short, it was really disappointing. And to know that it's the last time you're going to share the field with, well, I'll see him overseas, a big fella, but like Jared.
You won't play Jared unless you get Hulk AR round one.
Sure, I don't have him until later in the year. So.
Because you know about the new rules coming in.
That's good.
I reckon you'll be sweet.
Great.
You'll be sweet.
It's great rule.
Jared, I mean, best of luck. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, Kit.
No, it was just
the emotions.
Just to know that you're not going to play the two Joeys, like Joey Manu, been there since the start. Joey Suwali got really close with Satilli. Jared, like, it was even Teddy, like, had kind of been through a lot with those guys, Rads and that. So it's that last time you're going to share the field, and it was pretty emotional, but also, like I said, I feel content with what I was able to do with them and the different experiences we had and things like that. So it was kind of bittersweet in the end, but it's just disappointing the way we went out.
It's funny you say that because, you know, it's the last time you're going to, you're not dying.
No.
But
it is. They're your brothers, right?
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
It's a big deal. Like, you can message them anytime you want, but it's never going to be the same.
No, it's never.
It's a big part of a young man's life, and
it's hard to explain to people because, like, we go through a lot together, right? Like, for 8 years, we've been to army camps and overseas together. We'd watch Rads come from a kid to now he's got a missus and kid, and Teddy, and like you watch Jared's father figure to these. Like, there's so many different dynamics, and if you go to war every single week for 30 weeks of a year, you see people at the very low, you see people at the highs, you experience all these different things that I don't know if too many other workplaces can bring up those type of
you see
events.
Players go through injury,
everything,
and you see their dreams be shattered.
Yeah, you become close to everyone's families, and it's like and I feel so grateful I got to experience it for so long, and I still get to it over there. But for that group, it feels like a bit of a full stop on the end of kind of that crew from, say, 2013 or 12 to 2024.
It does seem like a bit of the end of a certain chapter or an era at the Roosters. What is it going to take for them to get back competing for premierships? by most clubs, barometer of success, back-to-back titles in 17, 18 would be enough to, enough runway, and they could dine out on that for 10, 20 years. But with the Roosters, it appears as though it's a little bit different, and they, demand success. What's it going to take for them to
you can feel it, right? You can feel that they're itchy already for, you can feel the disappointment inside the club about last year. Kind of had that feeling that maybe, it was coming again. But I think I said it to you before, that as a club, they don't stay down for long. I wasn't there, but they had 2016, which was a really poor year, and then straight away 2017, they're back in that preliminary final. And I can tell you one thing about that club. From the top down, it is one of the best run clubs in Australia, and they have everything sorted. They have everything in place. They have really good people there, and they'll get it right. They'll get it right with the people. And I think that's what it was about. The crew they had through that 2013 all the way through, they just had really good people there. They had the Boyd Cordners, the Jake Friends, the Orbisons, Jareds, and they just got to go out and build those players again. I think get that core group, and there's a lot of really good young kids there. Get that core group, and they're going to have to go through some hard experiences, some tough times on the field, off the field. But if they can get that core group through, I think they'll be back on top pretty quick.
And obviously, the person steering that ship is Coach Robinson. Yep. What is it that makes him so successful? Yeah,
he's been awesome. When I got there, the first thing I'll say about him is footy-wise, he's very, very, very good. He taught me so much about the game, taught me so much about playing in the halves, which I think he was a front rower growing up, but that's the first thing I remember in those first few years with him, was just how much he taught me about footy at training, after training, games, did a heap of video with him. And he can teach it across all different positions. He teach you about how the game's played. He's coached overseas, he's coached in Australia, he's coached at all different levels. He's a very, very knowledgeable football man. I become really good friends with him, obviously, over the years, but the number one thing with him is he's a footy guy, and that's his bread and butter.
Yeah, that. In terms of when you speak about him teaching you, how to play, because you it's not like you were a youngster coming through there. You came as a premiership winner.
Yeah,
and for you to say that he sort of, opened your eyes to a way of how to play is pretty impressive.
Well, I kind of picked it. I think I said this to Jake Duke, but I remember when I was leaving Souths, I had the option to go to St. George under Mary, and I remember sitting with Mary, and he goes, "We want you to be our number 7. You run this team." Gaz Widdett was there as a 5'8". You'll be a leader, da-da-da-da. And I spoke to Robbo, and Robbo said nearly the opposite. Like, you'll be second fiddle to Piercy. We'll just get you doing your thing, run the ball. And I sat down and looked at myself and went, there's no way I'm ready to run a football team. Like, I thought, I've got no idea what I'm doing. Like, I wasn't that. I'd won a premiership, but I was in a very good footy team, but I wasn't that guy. And I realised it in that moment. And then when I got there, I realised how little I did know about playing in the halves and about playing first grade football.
Even though you'd been so successful at Souths,
we had early success at Souths. We had early success in that first 30 or 40 games, and then we kind of my career, to be honest, it was bumpy. Right, I felt like Madge gave me a good foundation of how to be a first grader, train hard, tough, defence, kick. He gave me the foundations that I feel like allowed me to play for, I think, 12 or 13 seasons about hardness and tough and how to mix it with these guys. He gave me that. And then Robbo gave me how to actually impact a game. Yeah. How to put your stamp on a game, how to pull the strings here, how to play. He taught me a lot about how to play 5'8".
Yeah. That's really interesting.
But I didn't realise until I got there, I've got no idea what I was doing for 5 years. Because Madge's whole thing, right? And this is why Madge is successful, and this is what you watch Brisbane go at the start. All the fundamentals will be They will kick long, they'll chase, they'll tackle hard, they'll work, they'll be fit, they'll be strong, they'll be powerful, and that's that's all that's his bread and butter. And then and that's what got me through 12 years. I don't think I play 12 years of NRL without that, and I needed that. But then I felt like Robbo allowed me to actually make an impact on even that grand final in 2014. I watched it back and go, I was just doing that, like just not really doing much, you know what I mean? Like just kind of, I'll take a short side here, but I had no really idea of what was actually going on.
See, I don't know.
You probably don't remember that game.
Yeah. Do you reckon you just forgot that you were as good as you were? Do you know what I mean? Because I reckon you live in the now and you kind of think, oh, I'd love to have known then what I know now, but maybe you've just evolved. Like, I don't know, do you think you've just maybe evolved as a footballer? You're actually really good then as well, but it's just a different level.
I don't know. Yeah, maybe, but I just feel like the type of footy and like what I said, how to actually impact a game.
Yeah.
And this is what we expect our young halves to come in now and be on the ball, right? Be able to know when to kick, know when to run, know when to just pass, know when to pull back, know when to get on the front foot. And it takes 50 to 100 games. Sam Walker's in that range now, and we've expected so much from him. And you saw last year the big step he took. And I think it does take a while from you. But, I just know even that role that I got to come in at the Roosters as a 5'8", play a second fiddle running. You see, I love watching the Deardens, Ezra Mam, like they just when you watch a 5'8" who's free and they've got a really good halfback with them, it's awesome to watch.
Mate, you after Cronk left, you were sort of the go-to guy, but then Walker coming in, and I've heard you say multiple times this year, like, no, this is Sam's team. Was that difficult for you, or did it come naturally?
No. Like I said, I've never seen myself as that guy. Like the and that's my team. Like I'm controlling the team. It's not really never been that guy. But there was a transition period there. Coops left 2020. I thought Kyle did a really good job for us that year, being a young playmaker. But yeah, the role changed a lot from having Piercy and Cooper, where you are just genuine six. You don't have to worry about kicking and things like that. To okay, you got to take a lot more responsibility, and then obviously kind of getting semi through that first 40 or 50 games, you got to play a different role. Like, play a lot different with a 21-year-old to your 35-year-old, state of origin player. But it was never difficult. That was the plan, right? The plan was this. We see this kid as our future halfback. Like, we want him there now. We want him there now. And to be that guy, you see the best in the game. Your Clearys, they've got to be the centerpiece of it. And Sam is, he was basically there before obviously the injury last year, but it just took time and it took energy, and it was hard at times, and it was but it was, I felt like we did get there. Yeah, which is really cool. It's cool to see his development too as a person and a player.
Mate, there's some things that he's done this year prior to injury that I think gave the Roosters hope. Yeah,
well, even like I said, it was so enjoyable this year, right? Because I feel like I got to play in that role again, where I had a really good seven who was doing all these different things. It was a huge threat on the other side of the field. I think it freed Teddy up a lot.
Yeah.
So it was really cool to see him kind of come into his own.
But one of the things with the Roosters of recent years is really struggling in the record against the Storm and the Panthers.
Yep.
Well, is it an issue, or is it played out in the media? If so, why haven't they been able, do you think, to
it is
knock
an
them
issue.
off?
It is an issue, right? Because we just couldn't beat them. Like, I think Penrith was 10 in a row. Like, we got close at different times. We just couldn't beat them.
Do you think it's inadvertently a compliment to the Roosters that the Panthers and the Storm raised their game for you?
Oh, yeah. I don't think I hadn't played Penrith since 2020, where they had an average game against us. They were on the ball they're the best team. The best team that I've played from in my time in the NRL. They're head and shoulders above everyone else. I felt like we played well a couple of times against them, but we couldn't get our game on against them. Whether that's a stylistic matchup thing where they've just got our number in terms of the way we play, but they outplayed us. They've dominated us, and then I feel like Melbourne's probably not as bad. I felt like we had them in that semi 23, and Warbrick scored that try. We got close a couple of times last year. I thought they were the best team in the comp last year. I think Penrith were obviously the best on the day, but Melbourne kind of dominated the comp last year. But yeah, we definitely had an issue with both of those teams. And that was probably the story of our last 2 or 3 years. We couldn't overcome those two teams to win a premiership, and that happens. I think Souths couldn't get past Penrith through 2020, 2021, 2022. They lost to Penrith all 3 years, and if they beat them once or twice, they probably win a premiership. And we speak about that team differently, but credit to Penrith. Honestly, they're unbelievable team, unbelievable club.
Yeah, you're 100% correct in that analysis of them. But was it spoken about internally?
Not really. We started to get up for the game. Talk. Come on, let's there was a bit of let's go. We can beat this team. But we just couldn't. We couldn't get our best footy on against them, and they suffocate you. They complete it. I think every time we played them, they're above 90%. They suffocate. I remember speaking to Jake about it in Origin and just going, you feel like you're just kicking out of your own 30 the whole time. They did it to Melbourne on the grand final. They kind of suffocated Hughes into, taking everything away from him that he'd been so good at all year. But it just happens. It's sport. They're just a better team than us through that period, and we couldn't overcome it. And that was our biggest thing. If that group at the Roosters could have found a way to overcome Penrith and Melbourne, we may have won another one.
Yeah, it's a different story. Matt, when you did win one or two rather at the Roosters, you spoke about playing alongside Cooper Cronk coming from Melbourne. Can you talk to us about the impact that he had on you as a 5'8"?
Yeah, he was awesome. I had a really good year the year before with Pearcey, and when all that happened so quick, it was like, hang on, what's going on here? Coops is coming in. What's this? People forget, but it took a fair while for this whole thing to gel, right?
I remember in 18, the Anzac Day game, I was playing for the Dragons.
I remember going to breakfast after it, me, Coops and Ted just looking at each other and everyone was coming. Everyone was coming for Cooper, coming for Robert, coming for Ted. And it was like, what have we done? What have we done? But I think that's where he's so good. He's so sure of himself, and so he knows who he is as a person, as a footy player. He knows what success looks like, and it was just like, no, this is what I do and what we should do, and we just keep doing it, and it'll come good. And it gave us. I feel like he put a real calmness across the group, even in times of, toughness and when we were struggling. He had that ability where you looked over and you went, "Oh, fuck, Coops is here. We're actually okay." And the grand final when he was injured kind of gave us that. I reckon if he doesn't play, it would have been a lot tougher.
Matt, just on that, there's the story out there, the urban myth that it's been addressed, and you've spoke up and said, whether Coops plays or not, we're winning this game.
Well, there was a bit of that because there was a bit of sense of we'd worked so hard to get there. It wasn't, we were just going to roll over because, Cooper was injured. I don't know how it exactly went, but it was a couple of days after. But we spoke about it as a group. But the big Orbison, Jared, Boyd, Jake, that whole week was like watching a leadership masterclass of how to make everyone feel really good about himself. They just was just at the front, and it was wasn't a second I thought we were going to lose through that week. And even we didn't no idea if Coops was playing or not, but we just looked around and you knew who you had in your team.
But was it you specifically that said we're not losing this game.
I think it was that recovery. Yeah, you could tell there was a bit of like, ooh, what's just happened? Like we've just lost.
This is in after the semi-final.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you do recovery the next day.
We did recovery, it was a bit of we had a chat about it.
Yeah.
And, I don't know what I said, but it was along those lines of like, we'll be fine. Like,
yeah.
Let's go here.
Was that premeditated or just in the moment?
No, I think it was in the moment.
Yeah.
I think it was in the moment. And we just had such a good group, and I think I just remember going, we fell short the year before. Like, this is not stopping us. This is not stopping us. And I knew the crew we had, and it was more about getting them to go, no, we're okay here.
I like that. I often like little conversations like that I had in football teams that have a profound impact on the group. And
well, I reckon
that's one of those
the start of the year helped us that year too. We were bad, and that forced us to like become really tight because we had a lot of people coming for us. We weren't playing well, and it forced us to kind of, get tighter as a group and look after each other.
You mentioned that success 10 years ago. 10 years ago today, you're probably sat back, still smiling, still taking it all in. That you've been part of that recent triumph. How do you look back at that victory for Souths in 2014? Yeah,
it was cool. It was really cool. Like, I think at the time I was so young, you take it for granted a little bit. Like,
how old were you at that?
I was 22 at the time.
Yeah, wow. Yeah.
Maybe 20 or 30 games in.
Is that all?
And yeah, you're there in your first year.
Was that your first?
Yeah. It was second year, 2013, 2014. So you take it for granted.
Yeah.
Like, we'll get back here again. Do this every year. And it's not the case. And you don't realise how hard it is to get there and then how hard it is to actually win one. So we were really young. We had a really good older crew, but we had these young crew, Alex Johnson, the Burgess brothers, myself, Dylan Walker, Kira Summit. There was a young crew there that we were just in the moment. Like, everything just happened so quickly that year for us, culminated in that, which was, it was cool about it, to watch the people there. Like, they'd waited so long, they'd been through so much. Probably didn't appreciate it enough at the time being a young kid, but just to see how much effect it had on the community, and that community's so close to their rugby league team, so it was cool.
How did you view the Bulldogs that year? Because as a sort of threat, obviously you beat the Roosters to get there.
Well, that was the one. Yeah,
that was seen as almost the one, and you'd play either us or Penrith. Yep. We were 7th. We finished 7th that year. I think the Penrith.
Yeah, we kind of come from nowhere. Yeah, It was the start of the semis. It was looking like, righto, Souths and Roosters were probably the two best teams. Melbourne was there. So you're going, okay, it's probably one of them. And then the Roosters lose week 1 to Penrith. And we go, I remember sitting there going, oh, God.
And it's sort of like,
could have run into them in the prelim.
Yes, it's going to mess.
Yeah, what's going on? And then they put, Piercy scored 12-0 or 10-0 in the first 10 minutes, and Ben Teo came on. And then you blokes were obviously doing your thing on the other side of the jaw. But it was almost like, hang on, we're playing the Bull. Like, this wasn't meant to be. We're not meant to be playing the Bulldogs this week. And then I remember there was so much going on at Redfern, but you'd go home and turn the TV on, and Belmore was just rocking too, just going, these two powerhouse clubs with these massive support. It was such a cool atmosphere. It was a cool time, but I did have that feeling. I remember having that feeling of, hang on, we're not meant to be playing the Bulldogs here. This is meant to be like the Roosters or Melbourne at the time. But it was over that Des Hasler. It was a Des Hasler team where I remember I think it was 6-0 or 8-0 up until the 60th minute or something. Like, it was, I remember looking at the scoreboard going, these blokes won't go away here. And Mick Ennis was... Yeah,
he was injured.
Unfortunately, didn't play. But
Isaac Luke didn't play as well.
Like I said, I had no idea what I was doing. And Coop says it to me too. He goes, my first couple of grand finals, I was just like, you just had no idea. And I just remember going to that game to the 60th minute, looked up and went, oh my God, like, we're a chance of getting beaten here. And then George, the kind of game went away, but it was that type of game of just didn't go away.
how are the celebrations, I guess, and how do they compare?
Yeah, they're all different.
Yeah.
Like, I was so young. I remember the Reynolds got the tattoo bloke in there, Redfern, and that was a bit of a wild one. Like it was a wild week, and then we went off to Vegas. There was a little crew of us that went to Vegas for a few days, which was cool. And then the Roosters ones were a little bit different too, but we ended up in Vegas for all three of them. So yeah, it's similar.
Hat trick, nice.
I've been there about 7. That's when they announced us going last year. I was
not again.
Didn't really want to go.
Mate, it's been 10 years. Did you do anything for the 10-year anniversary?
They had an old boys' day which we were playing on, so I didn't get to go. And then the boys caught up, and I was away the other week, but they all caught up together, and it was really cool to see them all together. So I've caught up with a few of them different times through the year. I was catch up with Sammy overseas at some point, but yeah, I didn't get to go, which was really disappointing. But 20 years. I
was going to say, like in the 20-year reunion of that Souths connection, everybody will be retired.
Yeah.
Do you sort of see yourself as being a part of that?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
There's no sort of bad blood because obviously the Souths Roosters.
Obviously, like I wouldn't say like I like the club or anything like that. Obviously, you know, I feel like I'm a Rooster, and that's what I am. But it doesn't, you know, on the field and then off the field. Now that you're kind of out of of playing, it's kind of like I'd like to think I'm more mature enough to be able to put that to the side. Like when Jason Clark came over through the year, and we had different things like Kyle Turner through the year, which kind of brought everyone a bit back together. But no, like any success you have with a team and what you go through with them, there's nothing that will kind of stand in the way of those kind of friendships and bonds.
Not even a party in an A-lister's farm with a little bit of alcohol.
Things happen.
Look, I know that I've been part of multiple team nights out.
Do you want to ask about it?
Hell yeah, I'm going to ask. But, you know, the team nights out, people fall out, people say stuff, like shit happens, you laugh about it the next day. Like, talk us through, like, what, you know, this is a little bit different. Normally they're in bars or you're back at one of the boys' houses, or you said that, you know, hash up things that have been brewing for a while, or someone will just accidentally spill, or someone's been in a pranky mood, whatever it may be. There's a whole different, you know, lead-in events to people falling out, bit of banter, whatever. But what can you talk us through? What are you doing up there at Russell Crowe's farm anyway? And then sort of.
Well, we went up there in pre-season, and we went up in 2000 and must have been the start of 2016. So I was 2 years late anyway. But it all just, like you said, like things happened, and I ended up in an argument with him and in a cab at 6, 7 a.m. in Nana Glen to the airport. I remember landing back in Sydney actually, and I was starting to sober up a bit. Like we'd been drinking all night, and I'm just going, what have I done? What have I done? Like I should have just even like after it just gone to bed, waking up the next morning and gone, oh.
So
whatever, boys.
So he's got sort of bunks for you, and you've just been blowing up at him, and then just going,
I won't get into the full particulars, but like, it ended up going right. Like,
so he's not kicked you out. You've just gone, I'm going.
Yeah, no. Just left. But like, that's probably the one thing I was like, should have just like you said, things happen, but I should have just stayed and woken up and was probably all good the next day. I was more disappointed with like. The fallout from it was because things happen obviously on the drink with teams and things like that, and usually it gets kept in house, and it kind of it blew up very, very quickly. And I was still young; I think I was 23 at the time. Like things went from a small event to a very, very big event in the space of a couple of days. I remember that year; it was a tough year, and I've spoken to Russell since. Everything's fine. Like it's
that's it.
Things happen.
It's inevitable that. Men will large groups of men there'll be a falling out, but that's not, for me. That's never the issue. The issue is will they make up? Because we've seen it when people don't make up. That's when it's the issue. It's not the fact that they've fell out. No. It's gonna happen.
Yeah,
A lot of testosterone in the room.
I think we were fine in the days after. It was more just like I didn't realize how big of an event it was. Like people wanted to know about it.
Yeah. Well,
things like that.
I guess it's only now. Well, maybe if it's a different owner, it's probably just like,
true.
That's a bit awkward. But with, an A-lister.
It is a good story for when people ask me, but maybe not on this.
No, maybe not on this.
Maybe not publicly.
But for behind closed doors.
Little bits of it.
Phone in the
little
box.
bits of it are dripped out every now and then.
Yeah. It would be great to get the CCTV footage of it all.
Yes.
But I'll ask you this: what was it like the first day coming back to training after that? You're spotlight syndrome. Everyone's looking at me.
Like I felt supported. Like
felt
supported by Madge and the boys and everyone was. I mean, if Sammy called me, he's like, "Mate, it's all good. Don't worry about it." It was like one of them, but I think it was more the media thing. It's kind of the first and only like incident I kind of had was like a bit of media attention on it. That was probably the hard thing. And then we had a really bad year of footy, so it kind of just kept getting brought up, and rolled on. And so I was, in the end, it led to me kind of going to the Roosters, which was a really good thing, but it wasn't, I don't really like to talk about it too much anymore because I'm not proud of it either. Like I'm not proud of even how I behave. Like it was just things happen, but it was a tough few weeks after.
Was anyone there to sort of break the ice at training and make light of the situation?
Can't remember. I think like Sammy and those boys were good. The older boys had been through it all before. Like it's all good, but I didn't see Russell for a while after it. Took a few weeks.
And I want to ask you about some injuries. It's a brutal game.
Yeah,
because you had that ACL incident, which is not fun, but I guess they heal in surgery and you reboot, go again, and you touch wood and hope that it doesn't. But if it does, it's not going to be the end of the world. You've had a number of well publicised concussions as well.
Yep.
How are you managing that? And you've almost faced a bit of pressure from externally for you to maybe not be part of the game anymore.
Yeah, I think I've kind of wavered in and out in terms of not so much my perspective on it, but how much care I've given different people's opinions, different doctors' opinions, media, family. Like I've wavered from 2018 when it kind of started, wavered in and out of like listening to people, not listening to people, not caring, things like that. But I feel like I'm in a really good spot, right? I'm no professional. All I can do is take the opinion of these people that have studied in this area for their whole life, take all their different opinions, take it at face value, and kind of put it in a place where I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And I feel really comfortable with where I'm at, what I've been through and what's in front of me. Like I can honestly sit here and tell you I have zero anxiety or worries about my future. And I feel really good about it. I feel like I've been looked after really well by the club. I feel like I've been looked after by the game since all the information. I feel like I've been really looked after by the doctors. And that's all you can ask for, right? As a person playing a contact sport, all I can ask for is that these people that I'm playing for and that are looking after me have my best interests at heart, and they give me their honest opinion, and then I can take all that information and make the best decision for myself, my family, and kind of that's what I feel comfortable with it.
Was it sort of like a risk analysis? Like
a little bit,
okay,
yeah. Well,
I understand that concussion is bad. I've had a number of them. I've overcome them, but I am entering into a situation where it's more likely than most of the situations I need to be in, or I'm choosing to be in, understanding that another one, it sort of builds up,
Yeah.
the severity of it, or some of the potential consequences build up, and it's like, well, okay, well, because for me, I always looked at it and go, well, all right, you stop me from playing, but then what? Like you've solved one problem and you've created 100 more.
Yes,
and for me, the best course of action is continue knowing the risks, maybe make some adjustments here and there. But yeah, is that sort of how you?
Yeah, like I've had all those conversations with myself, right? Like, but I feel like the one thing I've been able to do really well with it is compartmentalize it, like lay all that out to the people that I really trust and I value their opinion, and then have the conversation, put it in a place where I feel good about it, and move on. And if any of those people that I trust and value their opinion come to me with a concern, I'll take that very seriously. But like you said, I don't want to speak too much on it, but there is a bit of a risk analysis of, well, here's the situation, and here's the situation without football, and then make a personal decision that you feel comfortable with.
Well, I think that approach is far better than the one of just pleading ignorance and just going, oh, well, there's nothing wrong. Yeah. I'll just keep going. Nothing to see here. Like, you're actually taking it from an informed, consensual perspective and of like, I'm making this choice based off all these, not just the information on the injury, but all the other environmental factors, all the other personal factors to me, knowing what me with the game and without the game look like in a playing capacity. Like, these are all things that that have got to be considered.
And it is hard. I think that's so important what you just said about people don't understand, probably even listening to this, there is a number of considerations, not just the number of head knocks you've had or how you've recovered or whatever. But I think the hardest thing has been the information, right? Yeah. It's not, well, from what I've been told, no one is an expert yet. Like, they don't have all the information
It's so complex, right?
They don't have all the information they need to be able to give you a straight answer. So it can leave a lot of questions in the air, right? That's probably been the hardest thing about the conversations I've had with different people. Yeah,
I think it leads. It has the potential to lead to a lot of unnecessary anxiety
and misinformation. To be honest,
to people. Yeah, it's like I say, it's very complex. Not everybody's the same. Not everybody recovers the same. There's genetic factors. There's other modifiable risk factors as well that everybody needs to consider. But I found it difficult to have people talking about my health publicly. Like, how did you feel?
Yeah, to be honest, it hasn't been too, like I said, I feel like I've been really good at compartmentalizing it, and like, I've heard it at different times, but it hasn't affected me too much. Whether I'd probably say it's affected maybe my family a little bit more, but not myself.
But again, by it affecting your family,
I had to wear a headgear for me mum.
even though there is no research to suggest headgear would help with concussions in any way, shape, or form. It would help with like maybe lacerations, but not with concussion. It's helped me. Yeah. Like, but then again, there comes the problem. The fact that it's spoken about publicly, even if your loved ones don't subscribe to those information, those sources of information, it would be still. Oh, I've heard this about Luke. I've heard that. This person said that if this happens, or her recommendation is for him to retire. Like, and then this creates that ripple effect that comes to you. And again, you're the centerpiece of this. You're the one with the most knowledge of your own situation and the consequences of playing versus not playing. But then you have to deal with these people that you love. You want to assure them, but then because we've got it's different. Again, a mother like my mum would be not too dissimilar.
We've got a few people in the Australian media who comment on it that shouldn't comment on it. And then you get the neurologists every now and then that come out and make a comment. They're obviously more informed. But like I said, that most of the conversations I've had, a lot of these doctors will admit that they just don't have enough knowledge or information to make definitive statements about it. Like it's, and that it's disappointing probably when people do make comments on it without the right information or details and things like that. But it hasn't affected me too much, only because I feel really comfortable. Like I said right at the start, I feel so comfortable with the people that have looked after me, the way I've handled it myself, and where I'm at as a person. Like I just, and it's not that I'm blasé about it. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I feel like I've done everything I possibly can in my control to look after myself. I
think a club like the Roosters, from what I've seen, I don't know if there's a club that could say they handled this issue.
Yeah, well, I think they've had it probably thrown in their face, right? To be honest, I think like it probably started with myself, and then Boyd. They had their two captains retire in the same year, which it was a massive thing for that club to have them both go in 3 months apart for the same issue, and then even Robbo, like he's just had to kind of deal with it on the run. The doctors at our club have done a really good job. Like they've kind of just had to deal with it, a lot of it as it's come, and we've had a lot of cases, unfortunately, of it. But I feel like they've done a really good job. And from when I first got there, and to be honest, the NRL when I first started, from where they've come from to now, the protocols and different training things, I feel like we're a little bit to go in terms of training. Like needs to be some kind of we need to be able to monitor it more. Obviously, on the field, we can see Luke gets hit in the head, he needs to come off. At training, these things can get missed very, very easily.
Do you think they should follow suit in terms of capping the amount of contact at training?
I think so, yeah. Yeah, I think I get it, right? There's a point where you need to get yourself ready physically. You need to get yourself ready to contacts, and that we need to be able to do that, but we need to be able to, I feel like, there needs to be a limit where coaches can't go past. And it's not the coach's fault, right? If they don't have a limit, they want to try and get that player to the best, the team to the best. But if they all have a limit, I can guarantee you they'll stick to that limit because the coaches care. They all care about their players. They will stick to that limit. They'll follow the rules. I haven't heard of too many teams where they're breaking rules and things like that in terms of that. But it'll take resource. Like it takes resources to be able to implement stuff like that.
To cap the number of hours per week in full contact I think could go a long way. Coaches are always looking for a competitive advantage. Some would say more is better. Some would say less is more. But if we're all going off the same level playing field and it becomes part of the culture, then it would be normalised within a season.
Yeah, well, it's the same as you have your mandatory 8 weeks off in off season. If we didn't have that, I'm sure coaches would be bringing people back in. In 2 or 3 weeks because it's open slot. Yeah. I think it'll be normalised. You'd need someone there to monitor the kind of monitoring of it's going to be.
And monitoring of the train, If we're told you can only do an hour, and you've got to have someone there, And I guess it is finding, because you make a great point about you don't want to be underdone. But there's almost like a Goldilocks effect of it's just right. This is just the right amount of exposure to collision that is going to give the athlete the tools and the experience to be able to engage in live action. Versus not enough without making it detrimental to the athlete's well-being and
I'm not sure
health.
Where they're at with that. Like I've heard they've had some conversations about it. I feel like it would be difficult to find that. Where is that point of like safe for them to play, get ready, but not stepping over the mark? So I'm gathering they're doing that now. Like I feel like they're putting some really good processes and things like that around it. They're probably in that process of getting. I feel like they should be getting that ready.
I think one of the things that stands out for me for the Roosters is I was calling the game, your semi-final in 2023 against the Sharks, and Sualihi didn't return after half time, and he self-reported, which I think speaks volumes to where the game is at, the culture's
self-report
there.
10 years ago.
Well, no one would self-report 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And also, if you did, the club,
Yeah.
the coach, the doctor would be saying, look, we'll deal with this later. This is a semi-final.
Yeah.
I thought that was a big moment because whenever I speak to people about concussion, you can have and this is sometimes where, we see the independent doctor, we see an event happen, and now everybody's too scared to make a decision because they're waiting for the independent doctor to make the call, which, again, for some reason, time is an issue for them. They seem to take longer to make that call. We see two plays happen.
Yeah.
Referee, but oh no, you're being sent for a HIA. It's like, well, of course.
Yeah.
Anyone could have seen that. It's like, well, why are we waiting for the independent doctor? Nobody wants to be that guy that or that girl that removes a player from the field and they were not needed. But really, from my understanding, the best way to diagnose a concussion, obviously when someone's knocked out, it's different, but it's honesty.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. And I think
the attitude's changed from like covering them up and no one knew they were an issue, right? So get on with it. But
well, I reckon people
I can tell you the attitude's changed.
I reckon people did know it was an issue, but it was like, I don't need anybody to tell me that playing rugby league is dangerous. And being knocked out is going to be consequential, short term, medium term, long term. Like if you're an alien from outer space and you came and saw a game from the 60s or 70s, 80s, and it's brutal, and people are getting knocked out, and that alien had could understand what was going on, give them context. They go, oh yeah, of course that's going to be detrimental in the future. Like, you don't need to be a scientist, a genius, a doctor to work that out. You know that, but I reckon people were just maybe perhaps a little bit ignorant to and whatever. Definitely. Well, that's tomorrow's problem.
The one big concern I have for our game, and I've got kids now, right? And I go, do I want my kids to play rugby league? And for me, it's different, right? Because I'm so grateful for the life I've got to live, and the game's given me experiences and the lifestyle and things that I would not have been able to get from anything else. But as a game, I feel like we need to choose, right? Do we want to be this hardcore game where there's only the special few can play, or do we want to make it inclusive or safe enough, for everyone to play? Participation levels or product. I feel like maybe you don't have to go one or two ways, but one will suffer.
It's interesting that, because what is the aim of the game? Like, I'm talking about the people at head office would look at. You mentioned the phrase participation numbers. Participation numbers lead in to fans of the game, followers of the game, people that support the game. So it's important to get those participation numbers up.
And you look at something like the UFC, and like, I watch it because I know I'll never be able to do it, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people watch it because it's so extreme.
It's brutal.
It's so extreme that you want to watch it, right? And I feel like there's people that watch rugby league because it's at an extreme level, and they know that they're not going to go out there and take a kickoff carry.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's with the kickoff, right?
Yeah.
I love watching it because I know I can't do that. And it is the most brutal play of our game, right? And we all want to see it because not many people in this world would want to do it.
And again, life as a parent, we putting your children into choosing which sport they, or you have a say, or you have an opinion, and then versus this attraction to violence or the potential for violence or the potential for something to go wrong. Like, we can't hide away from the fact that there is that,
I feel like
you tune into the UFC, look, you appreciate the jiu-jitsu aspect, but really,
Just want to see two guys punch each other.
Like, does anything get the crowd on their feet like when they're just slugging it out? Like,
I think
no,
the best
it doesn't.
games, even in rugby league, right? We love the skill. We appreciate it, but you want to see two teams like
go to
that's
war.
why everyone loves State of Origin. It's these two teams that hate each other and they're trying to hurt each other. And
well, that Origin 2 was, I don't know, the Origin this year was half. It was 6-0 at half time.
Yeah, Origin 3.
Yeah, and it was
2-0.
2-0 at half time. It was just war.
Yeah. That's what I mean. And we all sit back after and go, that was the best game of rugby league we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Even the game we had against Souths there when it turned into
the Simbin
7 blokes
Sunday.
on Simbin, and it was the worst game I've ever played in. But I've had that many people tell me that was the best game I've ever watched.
you as a player, you just be like, what short side? We've got an 8-on-4.
People, even being out there at the time, was that volatile and violent, and people trying to hurt each other. Jared tried to kill Burgess, and someone knocked Teddy. Like it was mayhem. But you do see as a spectator. I watch a lot of American sport too, and you're watching kind of where the NFL's getting to, and you're going, they've compromised on their product of how they can touch quarterbacks and things like that, and you know, do we get there or do we go the other way?
It's an interesting predicament because, like, look at the end again. Is it all about? And it's not. Sorry, is it all about numbers or is it all about the type of people that we're targeting? Like, it's not my game. The NRL's not. It's not the game designed for James or the game designed for you, Luke. It's a collective.
Yeah.
Like it's everybody's game, and I always say, like, I'll always be a fan. They might change the kickoff rule, and I'll still watch. But will some people go?
Some people will turn it off. I think you will.
But then we gain more.
You may gain some viewers. So.
It's interesting that with the children as well, because I always think, like, Charlie's going to laugh because I do the poetry line, but I'm going to change the line for Charlie. You know, it's funny how, like, passionate parents get about what sport their child can play. And sometimes I think, do you reckon you could make them eat their vegetables? Like, you're going to be, like, so hell-bent on they're not playing this sport, but I can't get my kids to tidy their room. Like, how can I stop them from playing the sport? I can't stop them getting in and turning the TV on. I can't stop, you know.
We need, if that's tribalism, right? Yeah. Like, it's, you know, if you grew up as a rugby league man, your kids are playing rugby league. You grew up as an AFL man, your kids are playing AFL. And that's why the game is what it is. But, you just hope, like, even the training stuff, right? I feel like they're doing not about – the NRL haven't been overly reactive, which has been good. They're not just like, someone says training needs to be capped and they've just gone, we'll cap it. Like, I feel like they've actually – I don't know if they are, but, like, it isn't – there isn't this whole reactive thing with them. I feel like they're being very cautious with their approach. Yeah. And they're not reacting to one person's opinion about this should be capped or this should be changed. They've actually – right, let's take a step back. Like I said, the information mightn't be enough yet to say that it's a problem. Yeah,
I think that you can't have that knee-jerk response because there are unintended consequences, like we say, to capping training. If the goal of the game is to reduce the number of concussions or the impact of the game in later life, you may be actually, you know, causing more damage by reducing the level of exposure in practice. And it's in a funny spot.
We are, and it's a kind of a reflection on society too about.
I think as well, for me,
not
enough emphasis goes on the fact of the benefits from allowing your children to play a team sport like rugby league, whether that be in the format of tag, Oz tag, or full tackle. There are, you know, by electing by taking the stance of I'm not allowing my child to participate in this sport, like, what are you denying them? What are they missing out on? You know, you meet some weird and wonderful people. You learn how to win. You learn how to lose. There's people from all walks of life that play a great game, big, small. Like, and I speak to parents that say, oh, my boy's not going to play. My girl's definitely not going to play. I say, well, that's fair. But, in life, they're going to come up with challenges where they face people with different attributes to them. They may be bigger or brighter or better in this aspect of life. You maybe work together as a team to overcome that individual. They won't do it on their own. Yourself as a small guy, you've got Olakawatu running that year.
What you said is honestly spot is exactly what I like. It's spot on. What team sport and this game in particular has given me and other people that it is provided things that not just tangible things, right? How to lose, how to win, how to work in a team, how to sit in different rooms with people, how to work, how to be hard, how to be tough, how to be soft when you need to be. Like it's a wonderful game, and because it's so brutal, it can teach you a wide spectrum of things.
Yeah, the soft skills that you learn along the way, and rugby league, generally speaking, it weeds out the idiots because they just
there's not many of them.
No, and look, people point to certain incidences on field, off field, but you go, well, imagine society with those people in it without the structure of sport. Well, there's some lunatics that play our game that actually dial it down, like what we see on the field for 80 minutes. It's like, that's not happening on the streets. We should be grateful for our game to give them this little outlet. And that's a dialed down version of who they could potentially be. You mentioned some rep football stuff there. I know you're thinking I'm going to ask Origin, but I'm not. Ireland, talk to me.
Yeah, I loved
2021 World Cup.
Yeah, I loved it. It was so good. Yeah, I think I was meant to play in 17 in the Aussie one, and because I was coming to the Roosters, I ended up saying, no, I've got to get into the Roosters. But, it was so good. Like, Dad's side, so all his family live in Galway in Ireland. They all came over for one of the games, but it was just cool. It was just felt like the highest honour for me was Australia. I'd all grew up wanting to represent Australia, but like to represent your culture, and I always knew that Irish culture with Dad's family and things like that, to actually put the jersey on and be in that environment with these guys, like it was actually just, it was such a cool experience. We had a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
I think
we didn't play. When
you said like Irish culture, I think that they got up for the crack, as they say.
Yeah, the crack was good, but it was so cool. I felt it's like one of the proudest kind of few weeks where got to represent that side of the family, and even with those boys, right? They were, I think, over half the team were part. Like it was just a cool environment. Like,
how was that for you coming in as like an NRL star at the Sydney Roosters? You one of the most recognisable players in the comp here, and then you go into an Ireland team that's got a scattering of NRL players, but a few Super League, but then some.
I think we had Jimmy Jolliffe that was NRL.
Yeah, there's two of you in the NRL. You're like the jewel there. You're like, in terms of what you've achieved, your level of exposure, your experience. You've got a trickling of Super League players, and then a lot of guys just
part-timers. Yeah. We had one of the boys was a maths teacher who'd quit his job just for that.
Yeah,
just for that 3 or 4 weeks, and it was just like it was hard, as in footy terms. It was hard, right, to get all these people from different skill levels onto the same page, and it kind of reflected the way we played. But in terms of off the field, it was like as good as it gets in terms, the tightness of the group. Everyone bought into the culture. We learn a heap about our culture, and they're mad. Some of them are proper mad. Proper mad.
Can you expand?
No, I can't. I'll get in trouble.
Was Kyle Amor there?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
Oh, he missed out.
He wasn't. Yeah.
What can you? Did you play against Jared?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
How was that? Where he
come on and knocked out one of our front rows. Got sent off. He near killed me after, and then he come back on and he played 10 minutes and got suspended for another 6 weeks, which is exactly what I'm expecting.
When did you come up against?
He came on, he knocked out our front rower, got
Is it
sin bin.
Luke Ambler that he knocked out? Oh, no.
Dan Norman.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
Knocked him out cold, went off, come back, got suspended for the rest of the tournament. And he was suspended coming into that was his first game back. Good luck over there.
Well, like I say, we spoke about concussion, they're lowering the tackle height. I don't know how that's going to work next year. And the poster boy, Jared's going to be, he's going to get, yeah.
Mick Lorum's with him too there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Mick McClaw. Has he gone to
he's gone
OKR?
there too, yeah.
Oh, there's two very aggressive human beings. Did you play was he at Ireland with you?
No, he didn't. He was in the England side that year.
Oh, was he?
I wanted to play with him, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a little bit tapped as well.
He's a madman.
Yeah. But did you manage to get over to Ireland at all?
No, I didn't. Dad goes nearly every year, but we had baby back here, so I had to race back as soon as we finished to the wife. She let me go for the World Cup, and that was it.
Are you going to look to go when you're over there and sort of look a little bit?
Yeah,
have you been before?
We want to take the kids. No, we want to take the kids over there.
Yeah.
Obviously, my missus' family's from Malta, so we want to take them there. We want to take them over to Ireland to see the family and things like that.
Will Dad be over for a few games as well?
Yeah, you're going to come over. Mum and Dad, they'll definitely be over. They know we come over twice and do it all. Amy's parents will get over there at some point too. So
is that a bit strange, like leaving home, like with for me, one of the strange things about leaving England was your mum and dad aren't going to be at the games anymore.
Well, yeah, honestly, one of the big things we had to talk about too was both of our grandparents are the boys' grandparents are very close to them. They live out northwest, but we kind of felt like we were pulling them away from them, and that's when they get to spend a lot of time with the grandparents. That was a hard decision. My wife's a big family person, and to kind of pull them away, I know it's only for a short period, but it was a consideration.
Yeah.
And then I'm not too much of like a mummies or daddies always say. They could get over there a few times and see us, but it'll be very difficult for the boys and my wife.
Yeah, it's not as simple as just going, especially when you've got.
It's not a holiday either.
You're going to work. And they're with 5-year-old be starting school.
He's going to go straight in the French school. Yeah, in a little local village with I think Tommy Makinson's kids are there and Sammy Tompkins.
Yeah.
And I think the principal apparently speaks a little bit of English.
So we'll see how we go. Full French school.
Full French school, yeah.
Yeah, I know a couple of the lads that have been over with the kids.
Yeah.
Like they
end up
struggle, and then
I had a good
by
chat
the end of it, it's
Jimmy
like
Maloney. Obviously, before I went, he said they were translating for him after a couple of months. So.
Is there any cuisine you're looking forward to trying in particular? Or?
French snails.
Have you done it before? Or?
Nah,
no, it's all right.
We're in Italy we're doing Rome for Christmas. So I think the French cuisine snails. What else they do?
Frogs' legs.
Yeah.
They're a bit out there.
I reckon that'll be fun.
A little bit out there. I reckon it's one of them you try it once and
that's it.
See you later. Thanks for coming.
Do you spend much time there?
In Perpignan. Only to play. Yeah, I've been on a couple of trips to France, but mainly just to play. Perpignan's a beautiful place.
I've heard,
you can fall into the trap of. Yeah, look, the French. Look, you talk about their culture, mate. Just get ready for just shops closing, and they just.
I've heard that.
You're over there to play. You think I'm just going to go and grab something this time? Well, not when the shop's shut. Toilets in the ground, dugout toilets.
Really?
At some of the stadiums.
No one told me that.
No. I reckon most would have they don't mind a bidet as well after the toilet. But then it's funny, the French and their toilet culture, you got the toilet and the bidet, so you think that's extreme, all about hygiene. And then some are just holes in the ground.
Yeah, wow.
It's one extreme to the other. Kez, before we get into the 4 questions for each and every guest, I just want to congratulate you on your NRL career.
Thanks,
but also, I can't remember exactly when it was. You were playing at Souths and we shook hands after the game, and you said to me, like, it was a pleasure sharing the field with you. And I've always remembered that. Like, it's funny how just some kind words can go a long way. And I was genuinely taken aback. I was just like, oh, I'm just playing, mate. Like,
I do remember those early years, and someone asked me the other day about it. I still remember standing at a scrum. I know this was the grand final. Might have been during the season, and you were going off. I think you were going off at Sam or something, and I was just going, I shouldn't be out here with this bloke. He's a lunatic. He's going to kill someone.
Well, I was, but I've calmed down a little bit. But no, little things like that go a long, long way. They really do, and it stayed with me after all these years. I think it would have been well over 10 years ago. Your time at South, you said it, and obviously you were very young at the time as well. Showed a massive level of maturity, and I really appreciate those kind words. Things that people have said to me throughout the years, good and bad, you sort of forget, but that's something that's stayed with me, mate. So
appreciate it.
Thank you for, the kind words. Got 4 questions that we do for each every guest. Charlie sent them over to you. So the dream spine, no rules around it, just a 1, 6, 7, 9.
Yeah, I'll go with blokes I didn't play with, just to be Billy Slater. He was the best. Darren Lockyer is my favourite player ever. 6. I loved watching Thurston play. 7. And there's only one choice for Smithy. Brandon Smith.
I was gonna say before you went Brandon Smith, it's almost an all Queensland spine. So make of that what you will, listeners. But
it is all Queensland,
yeah. Imagine that, eh? Imagine that.
Interesting.
Interesting choice. If football, obviously you're a very educated person, smart individual. If football didn't exist, what do you think you would have done?
Well, I didn't think football was going to happen. I was on the Gold Coast, and I did a few things.
Hang on, sorry. You just said you didn't think football was going to happen.
I didn't go through the grades. You know, I didn't just go from 16s to 18s to 20s to. I was playing rugby union. Spent time on the Gold Coast. Wasn't signed with anyone.
Sorry, what do you mean? Spend time on the Gold Coast?
Just went up there after school and ended up just playing for Burleigh, the local. Lived in Burleigh, but played for the local under 20s team, Colts. They call it up there.
Like almost like a bit of a
a holiday.
Yeah.
Like going over,
Really?
Yeah, so I'll run you through my jobs that I did. I
Go
was
on.
a carpet cleaner
Carpet
for
clean.
1 week. I gave that away.
What is it hard to clean carpets?
It's boring.
Is it?
Oh, it's horrible, yeah. Like mowing, but like vacuuming, basically.
Yeah.
I did metal roofing for a period with my roommate, which was horrible.
That sounds like graft.
On the roof, cuts everywhere.
In Gold Coast
horrible.
as well, in the heat in the Gold Coast.
Horrible, yeah.
Yeah.
I laboured, and then I built pergolas with a chippy. They were my jobs up there, and I actually wanted to do. I wanted to be a carpenter up there. Dad was forcing me to go to uni, which I maybe did one subject. So I reckon if I had my way, I would have tried to be a carpenter, which thank God I didn't have it.
So how did you end up signing for South then? You just playing?
Well, the end of that season, 2011, my manager had Ryan Carr, who was playing for Redcliffe, who just signed with South, and he basically said, can Luke come down? He wants to come back to Sydney. Can he come back and just train with the under-20s? And I went from training with him in November or whatever, the 20s, on nothing, to full-time by round 10.
What was how did you become fast-track so quickly? You just playing, making an impact at training?
That's the next question. You got the sliding doors one.
Yeah.
That was a sliding doors question, yeah.
Yeah, the slide. Yeah.
Well, I finished at Burleigh, and I was doing nothing, and I remember going, I only had 1 year left to 20s. I couldn't get into the Gold Coast 20s, and I just went, this is your last. like this is your last shot. If you didn't play 20s back then, it was you were
Yeah.
not very difficult to progress through. I was in England at the time with all these guys from the Goldie, and this mad trip, and I remember going, mate, you need to take this seriously because this is your last chance of. I remember over there just went, righto, that's like I want to get back, like everything's going in.
Yeah.
And then that was it. It went from training with the 20s to full time by around 10, 11 that year.
All right, so you've got this sort
Debuted the next year.
You've got this vision in England, like, I'm going to do this.
I think I was coming down.
Yeah, you're probably not the only person to have this, like, right, I'm going to make a go of this. Easy to think, easy to talk about, but what did you actually do?
I got off the drink. Like, I was only young, but I didn't drink that whole entire preseason. And I just remember I had Benny Gardner there, who's at Penrith now, who was he's a lunatic. I never really trained, even through school. Like, I wasn't part of a system, so I was just go train with the boys down at school. Never did weights, nothing. So that was the first time I just went, righto, I'm going to actually properly train.
You became fully dedicated.
Eat proper, get off the drink, get healthy, and it all kind of clicked in. It was a weird. It's probably not two, that one, and then when I got to the Roosters was the second one where I went. Like we spoke about before, it kind of went from maybe there to
just going up a few gears.
Well, every time I feel like I've made a really good progression in my career has been I've had something kind of disappointed with, and I've had to really step back, look within myself, and go, what are your values, beliefs? What do you actually want to do? All right, how are you going to go do it? Righto, let's go and do it. And that was kind of when I finished at Souths. It was disappointing, and I kind of had to step back and ask myself a few tough questions. And
where do you think you get that drive from? Is anyone that's impacted you, or it's just there?
I don't know. Like my mum and dad have always been really hard workers. They weren't like, really high achievers, but they've always been really, really hard workers. And I felt like I didn't work hard as a kid. I didn't have that through. I thought it was more about having a good time and mates and things like that. And then I always wanted to play professional footy, but I don't think I got that drive until I was a bit older.
Yeah.
I didn't come on till, I was 20. I didn't debut till 22, 21.
Yeah.
I didn't progress through those.
Obviously you know that, but like most people you just sort of forget.
Yeah. No, it was a very different journey to probably how a lot of halves get. I watch these kids, they get to come in now when they're 15, 16. They're in our system. They're, being able to speak to Coops at training, Piercy. They're training with they've got so much development and different tools to succeed, which I wish we had.
Do you?
Yeah.
Or do you think, because everyone's journey sort of is different, unique.
Yeah,
and
I don't wish,
if you'd have had that, maybe if you'd have had that.
I love the journey I went. Yeah. I feel like it made me, I feel like I said to you about being able to play for 12 years, especially at this size, I feel like if I didn't come through the way I did, I wouldn't have been able to play, because I feel like I always built my game. I'd like to think, but I'd like to think I built my game on a bit of toughness and hardness rather than this really skillful guy that could do things. I felt like I had to really work hard at my game defensively, all the effort areas and things like that, rather than being a really skillful. I feel like that came a bit later in my career. But I don't think I would have had that if you'd have
been exposed that, hey, the system picked this guy's brain. Learning at a young age. Like, even what I found quite interesting is the fact that you said, like, at 23, 24, when you land at the Roosters, it's now like opened up. Yeah. Your brain, you've had this foundation laid by Madge, and then you've got this drive before that, which then probably helps you in that foundation. You maybe, when you say you went to England, you're on the Gold Coast, whatever, like, maybe if you have that level of, or that demanding schedule, that level of intensity as a youngster, you fall out of love with it, which I know you see a lot of players do. They get and it's funny, athlete development, like talent identification, but then what the best process is for them. Like, you know, what you're talking about, the Roosters, it for most it's great, but for some it could tip them the other way. Some need that sort of more relaxed approach, and then the penny drops at.
Well, I watch some of the kids and I go, they're 16, right? And they're on these full-time programs. That's going to school. And I think if I did that, I'd just be running the other way at that age. Like, like I'm happy I got to be a teenager.
Yeah. Final question: the most interesting person you've met?
Honestly, I actually don't know. I was going to say Brandon, but I can't say Brandon.
Well, mate, he's a friend of the show.
I'm going to say Brandon.
Brandon Smith.
Brandon's it, mate. Honestly, I love Brandon, right? He's so interesting, and like he's a different cat. He's a different cat, and there's a lot of opinions about him, but he's interesting. Like you would know. You sit there and talk to him, he's interesting.
Very polite way of describing Brandon Smith. Interesting. I think he's probably going to get that quoted. Or Luke Keary said, "I'm interesting." I reckon he'll get you to sign something. I reckon he'll be pretty happy with that.
I remember his first week in there. I'd never met him before, and we are just talking about, I don't know, random stuff. And I said to someone, I was like, he knows a lot of facts. And they said to me, he knows not much about everything, but a little bit about, I don't know. He knows not.
I kind of think I know where that quote is going. Like, he knows a little bit about everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But he actually knows nothing.
Yeah. That's a very fair
other than the surface
description. Well, Brandon Smith, the most interesting person you've met. Some people would take that as like you've not met interesting people, but I think that is
a lot of interesting people.
I think it's a perfect answer, mate. Kez will wrap it up. Let you get back to packing boxes, checking visas, checking passports on out of date, ticking all those boxes.
Cancel stuff.
Mate,
figure out bank account. Yeah, there's a bit going on.
Phoning up and cancelling things like and people don't take it at face. I just want to cancel it. Why? Oh, I'm moving. Oh, were you moving? No. Just can we just? Are you sure? Anything else I can help you with? No, I've got 20 more calls like this to make. So good luck with all that. All the very best over in France. There's some great people over there. Yep. I'm sure you'll be very, very important in Catalan's chances of being successful. If they win the Premiership over there, their maiden one, it will go absolutely off in the south of France. So all the very best, and I will see you when you're back.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Thanks for having me.